Recovery Search and Rescue Simulation is out now for PC. We've already shown you how to download additional missions from our developers, but in this video I will show you the mission editor where you can create your own missions and stories. First, select a save slot from the main menu. When you're in the game at any time, you can hit the F1 key and it will launch you into the editor mode. The scrollable box in the middle of the screen contains a list of all missions currently installed. You can click the mission title box to play that mission, or click the edit box beside it to edit that mission. At the top are a few extra buttons. Firstly, if you hit the screenshot button, it will create a screenshot in your documents folder. The settings button will bring up the camera settings where you can adjust a few options to make navigating the map easier for when you're creating a mission. I'll click New, which brings up this box where we will be able to create a name for the mission and a name for the TXT file that is created. I'll call the mission Timmy is Missing, and to make it easier to find and share with friends, I'll name the file Timmy is Missing with no spaces. Now you need to click Open. Select the mission you've just created. When loading up the mission for the very first time, you're going to need to click the Save button at the top right and then close it. Now you'll need to open it just one more time and you'll be able to freely edit the mission. There are quite a few options available when you first create a mission. The description is where you will write the first words that the players will see when selecting the mission, giving a brief introduction of what the player's objective is. The end mission text will show when the player has finished the mission. The length in minutes lets you set how fast the player must complete the mission. The reward slider lets you adjust how many points the player will receive for completing a mission. The start time will let you decide the time of day for that mission. The player start area lets you decide where the player will begin when the mission is loaded. To set this, you can move the camera with the WASD keys to move sideways, forwards and backwards. Clicking and holding the right mouse button and dragging across the camera screen on the left will let you rotate the camera. Click the set button and the player location will appear in the boxes above. In the editor mode you can freely fly around the map to get to locations faster. Right now let's set our player location here. In the mission description I'll type a vague mission text to send the player on their way. Of course we need to now populate the park with clues for the player to track. I'm going to place Timmy somewhere in the park, so let's find a good location for him. To speed up the camera movement you can hold the shift key or change the motion speed in the camera settings I showed you earlier. This seems to be a good place. I just need to click the entity button. This will bring up a box of all the entities in the mission. At the moment we've not added any, so it's empty, so let's hit New. This now brings a list of all the objects in the game. Let's find a model for a boy. We can scroll down to look for it, or in the filter text above we can search for boy. Let's click the people/boy_1 button. This will spawn the entity into the mission. Move the camera to get a better view. From here we can move him around by clicking and dragging the axis arrows, so let's get him onto the floor. At the bottom right there's a P and an R button. The P stands for position and the R for rotation. We've set the position, so let's hit R and we can now rotate him into the best place. Now that Timmy is in the correct area we can take a look at the long list of options on the right that we can use to edit what this model of Timmy will do in that mission. Firstly we need to name him. This will make it easier for us to find him in the spawned entities list we brought up earlier. We don't need to worry about position or rotation, we've already set that. The points lets us decide how many points the player will get for finding this model. The time slider lets the player have more time when finding this object. As this is the last object the player will find, I'll set it to 0. The text box lets you set text which will appear on screen when you find that object, so let's just write "Congratulations, you found Timmy." The type decides how that object will affect your tracking. At the moment Timmy is standard. This means that players can interact with the model but it will not appear on the map. The key item type creates a circle on the map giving you a vague location of where it is. The objective type is the last object that will end the mission when found. The negative type will deduct points from the player, and the decorative type is used to create scenery and spawn animals. We'll set Timmy to an objective type as he is what we're looking to ultimately find in this mission. When selecting the objective type, a circle radius and circle max offset slider appears. The circle radius defines how big the circle on the map is going to be to tell you where Timmy is. And the circle max offset adjusts where the actual model could be. This makes it so that the objective is never always in the centre of a giant circle indicated on the map. This is pretty much all we really need to edit for this objective type. Now we need to create a few clues to guide the player towards Timmy. We'll head back to base and lay down a single key type entity for the player to find. So let's click the entity button, click new, and I'll just spawn a book. Once we've set this down in its place, we can adjust the far right options again, adding text, points, time, and setting it as a key objective. We'll make the circle radius small as it is the first object that we want the player to find. Now let's create a second key object further down the path. I'll scroll down the list to see what tickles my fancy. Let's choose a mobile phone. Let's set it to a key object again. Now when you boot up the mission, you'll see that there are 3 circles on the map. 2 of them are key items, which are red circles, and the large purple circle is the objective. Now it's up to you to decide how you want the missions to be played. The first way of creating missions is we can keep all the circles on the map. What we need to do is go into the entity list, select the objective, and then where it says zone items with a plus mark, we then need to just press the plus button. And then we just need to set the 2 key items to associate with that zone. Now we need to go into the 2 items that are in that zone and look for a few sliders, most notably the circle size change and the circle location change. Now whenever we find any of these 2 items, it affects the circle on the map indicating where the objective is. It can make the circle smaller or adjust its location. Of course, this is going to take some playing around with to get used to how these sliders affect the map, but the overall goal is to find key items so the large area of the objective gets smaller so it's easier to find. The other way of creating missions is by tracking a trail and hiding objects, so let's start by going to the first object we want the player to find, the book. Now the goal is to make only a single item available to find on the map at any time, so let's select the book, and in the options on the right we can see the text reading children. We need to hit the plus sign here, and now we have a list of objects in this mission. We'll select the other key item for now, so the mobile phone is now the child of the book. What this means is that below the children text on the right we have a on trigger menu. This means when you click that item something happens. We have 2 options right now, enable children and destroy self. Clicking destroy self will remove that item, in this case the book, from the map completely. The enable children button will make it so that any children the book has will spawn when interacting with this book. This means that when you find the book, the map will be updated with the whereabouts of the mobile phone's location. But first, we need to go back into the mobile phone entity menu, where we can find the option which says enabled by default. This means that the object is visible immediately. Even though we set it as a child to the book, it is still visible on the map. We need to unhighlight this option so it will remain invisible until the player finds the book. You can then make Timmy the child of the mobile phone, and do the same we just did to make Timmy invisible until you find the phone. You can continue this process as many times as you want, and it will let you track a trail. The best missions will feature a mixture of these 2 play styles, tracking a trail and homing in on a particular search area. Additionally, if you're feeling generous and know that your mission will require a lot of walking, you can spawn a search and rescue bike to aid the player. Just go into the entities list and choose bike_SAR. Spawn this somewhere reasonable and the player can use it to get from point A to B with ease. Let's create one more key object, Timmy's friend Sally. The only reason to do this is to just show off one more feature that you can select when finding multiple persons. Underneath all of the standard circle radius options is a selectable box next to the text, Need Helicopter. If we enable this, it means the player will need to call in the evac chopper before they can continue with the mission. So that's pretty much it for creating clues and objects for the player to find. The only thing to add into the mission now is to spawn some animals. There are several animal types in the game, from rabbits, boars, stags, and even mountain lions. It's up to you to place these in the map. There are 2 animals that will harm the player, so you need to be cautious when spawning them. They are the bear and the snake. Let's place a bear in the map. Select bear and place him in a suitable location. If you want, you can treat these animals like objects you spawned earlier. However, traditionally, they are used as a threat or decoration. For that purpose, you can choose the decorative option in the type list. This decorative option removes any glowing effects on the object which are traditionally used to help you find smaller objects on the map. So that's the basics of creating your very own missions. The best missions have excellent dialogue, a risk of attack from animals, and include tracking and homing elements of searching. If you want to find the mission you created, you'll be able to find it in your Recovery Search and Rescue Simulation folder in EN, then Missions, and then look for whatever you called your mission when creating it for the first time. For example, here is the Timmy is Missing mission I created for this tutorial. If you want to share your missions with us, send us an email at recovery@excaliburpublishing.com with the text file and some details so you'll be credited if we share your mission with everyone around the world. But also don't forget to visit our website at excaliburpublishing.com to download more missions.